Hey guys, Wade Willis here for Wade's Weeb Reviews. Coming here to talk to you guys today about the newest episode of Higurashi Go. And this is episode 3 of the Demon Deceiving arc. Last episode, they shocked us all and introduced the Fragment of Space, which is actually a concept from season 2 of Higurashi Kai. And we found out, okay, like this isn't a remake. This is going to be kind of a sequel, but from what I've seen in interviews with the writer and the director of this series, they're trying to craft this in a way that not only like people who've seen all the other stuff can watch and be entertained, but also new people who've never seen the original can also watch and enjoy it and understand what's going on. Obviously, there's a mystery aspect to it, so you're going to be kind of confused of what's going on at points. So I believe like in these first 3 episodes, they've done an amazing job with the world building and introducing concepts from all over through the series that if you're new, you should understand what's going on. And then people who have watched the original, they are going to be entertained and they can notice that there are some differences going on already. Do you really need to see the original? I don't think so. I've seen people online like complaining, saying like, oh, how can people watch this if they haven't seen the original? All these, you can do whatever you want. I suggest watching the original, but it's not, I don't think it's necessary. Based on how the show's going, they've introduced a lot of later concepts already, and I don't think it's messed with the flow of the show at all. Now, before I go any further, guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I'm going to be doing reviews of all these Higurashi episodes from the Go season, and I'm also doing arc reviews of the original. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, please subscribe to my channel. It helps a ton. And if you like this video, please leave a like. On the surface, this episode 3, felt very similar to episode 2 of the Spirited Away by Demon arc, which is the first arc in the original. However, there's a lot of subtle changes that I think are going to be very important. And if you're not paying attention or haven't watched the original recently, you might not pick them up. So I'm going to go into a lot of the differences between the events that happened in the first arc of the first show and what's going on right now. And I think you guys will be able to see there are some very interesting differences in how people are acting. Now, this episode, they're starting off at the festival. Rika is doing her thing with the hoe, and then Rena is explaining the cotton drifting festival, saying that, okay, you need to get the cotton, and you're giving thanks to Oishi, the god of this area, and she's thanking him and like putting it on her head, her chest, and her gut. This is different than the exchange between Rena and Keiichi and the other arc, because in that one, she's telling him that cotton absorbs all the bad stuff in your body, and then we throw the cotton downstream, and that's all. So she goes from not even talking about Oishi to, and that this is supposed to just take out all the bad things in your body, to, all right, in this arc, she's telling him, hey, you need to thank this guy. This is a big deal, this god. Then Rena runs off. Keiichi sees Tamatake, and he's with some blonde girl, and people who've seen the original know who she is, but we don't know her name at this point. And in the original version, he actually stops and has a conversation with them, and they let him know about the Oishi curse, everything that's gone on the last 4 years, that they say 2 people have been dying every single year. This conversation where Keiichi learns this information is actually moved forward later on in the episode when he's being interviewed by Oishi, the cop. So they switched that information being learned to that point, and yeah, Keiichi just kind of walks past them. He doesn't. He kind of sees Tamatake with that girl, and I think he decides like, oh, I don't want to like kind of cock block him right now, so I'm just gonna walk past. One other important thing I saw is that Rena is like creeping in the bushes watching him, and that did not happen in the original. And I'm going to touch on why I think this is important later on too. I mentioned that Keiichi learns about this curse with Oishi. The next day, the cop calls him out of class. Oishi, again, tells him about the curse, but the really important difference is that Oishi tells Keiichi that Tamatake and we learn that the girl's name is Takano, the blonde, they're both missing. Now, OG version, Tamatake actually is already dead, and he clawed at his own throat, hit his carotid artery, bled out. And he was like near a phone booth, I believe. And Takano is missing in this conversation. So now they're both missing. Extremely important difference that they haven't found a body yet. And one side thing that is just kind of like a tiny difference, I don't think it'll be important, but when Oishi is showing the photos to him of Tamatake and Takano's picture in the original is just how she looked that night. And then the picture he shows Keiichi in this version actually is her in her nurse's uniform. Is that going to be important? I don't know, but again, that is another difference, and I feel like just with how the writer and director are in this show, all the differences are going to be important in some way. One other difference is Keiichi hears Mion and Rena talking about people being demoned away. In the original, this is referred to as spirited away. The first arc is spirited away by demon, so kind of sounds similar. They're talking him demoned away. And when he's talking to Oishi later on, he refers to demoned away as similar to spirited away, but it's with a demon. Again, I feel like the fact that they are talking about there's a difference, and he explains what the difference is, but again, this is a different conversation. They're using different terms. I feel like there's going to be a purpose for this. I have no idea. Maybe it's just to show a passage of time, or I have no idea what they're doing with that. But again, that is a small difference that I thought I would point out. Oishi sees Keiichi kind of walking on the road, takes him to this restaurant and it ends up, it looks like it's at dinner. This conversation actually happens the next day in the older version when Keiichi calls in sick from school. So again, guys, there are a lot of differences, but the flow felt very similar. So if you're not really paying attention, you would maybe miss how much things are being swapped around. And this conversation's important for a few ways. One, Oishi lets Keiichi know, okay, it's not just deaths. Like, you've been told that it was two people dying each time. It's actually a death and a disappearance. And there's something important that is left out in this conversation compared to the original, and that is he doesn't let Keiichi know about his Keiichi's friends' backgrounds. And I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's only watching this new version. This is one of my favorite parts in the show. In this version and in the previous is Reina's discussion with Keiichi, where he's suspicious of her because he realizes they've been lying, and he has this conversation asking if she's been hiding secrets from him. And you see the switch flip, and before we had just seen awkward one-word answers where her and Mion are a little bit creepy. This is her, you start seeing a more menacing and demented side, and she's attacking him hard, asking him about, hey, you lied about going to the school's office when you were actually talking to some old man. Was this the same old man you were eating with yesterday? All this stuff. And Keiichi starts to realize, like, oh crap, this is like, he's put on his heels and he's really thrown off here, and you can tell he's extremely creeped out. And Rena eventually says, like, both of us have our secrets, and it's mad creepy. The way they make her eyes in this, I actually like the animation better. In this, it is kind of still cat-eyed a little bit, but it looks more ominous than the original. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you like the new possessed eyes or the old possessed eyes? I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. This conversation in the original happens right after he meets with Oishi for the first time, and it's a little bit shorter. Again, it's creepy, but not to the level, it's not as menacing as this one, because she's able to attack more things. Not only him meeting him during school, but also him meeting with Oishi at the restaurant and stuff. She attacks both of them at the same time. The restaurant thing in the original is brought up by Rena and Mion, but I don't want to get into what happens there in the original, because again, maybe they're going to get into that somehow in this next episode. And that's a really one of my favorite scenes from that first arc. This episode ends in the same way that they end episode 2 of the original, with Keiichi talking to Oishi on the phone. And in this version, they're really focusing on Rena, and Oishi spills the beans that Rena actually does have a past in the town. She isn't just a newcomer. She grew up there, and then after elementary school went to another school, and then was kicked out because she went crazy and used a bat, bashing in windows and stuff. And all of her interviews say that she was seeing Oyashiro every night at bed, and he was watching over her and stuff. Kind of creepy. My favorite part of this is when Keiichi's father comes up to his room and is like, hey, and has 2 cups of tea, and Keiichi's really confused, and his dad's just like, yeah, Reina's here, you don't have to be embarrassed about it. He's trying to be a cool dad, like, hey, I got you kids some tea. I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm not trying to impose. And he's like, Rena isn't here. And his dad's like, yeah, I showed her, she was inside the house, I showed her where your room was. And Keiichi realizes that Rena was listening the whole time that he was talking to Oishi. And the way they shot this in this version, actually, I thought was a lot scarier. I don't know if it was the music, or they made this noise when they zoomed in. They show her eyes kind of creeping through, which they didn't show it that way in the original. And it honestly made me jump. I think that there was some noise or something, but not gonna lie, I did jump in that part, even though I knew what was happening. Oishi gives Reina's diagnosis in this, and I don't believe that he does in the original. And I had just thought, they talk about her getting medicated, but I believe they don't say the illness that she suffers from, which I just assumed, okay, they didn't want to say what it is, probably schizophrenia or maybe bipolar is what she was diagnosed with, and that's what she's medicated for, or maybe, I don't know, I'm not a psychology expert. But in this, he gives the actual diagnosis, dysautonomia. I think I pronounced it right. This is where the autonomous nervous system is not functioning correctly. So this is all your involuntary muscles, more so. Your they call them your smooth muscles that you're not thinking about using. The function of those is messed up. Now, when I was researching what this is, and I didn't do that much research, but the one key that I thought was important, it said, they said that this system is the primary function for the fight or flight response. So when you're thinking about what these kids are dealing with and just how erratic and they're almost acting in such crazed ways, kind of makes sense. And I'm almost positive she wasn't diagnosed in the original, and I think this is going to end up being extremely important in some way. And there was one other major thing that was missing in this episode, and they did not discuss a character at all who was discussed in episodes 2 and episode 3 of the original show, and that is Satoshi. And I'm not going to go into him, but he is discussed a lot in the original. I'm not going to talk about why or how, because there are some people who haven't watched the original watching this. Those of you that have seen it before, you know why. But I think it's interesting that he has been left out completely in this arc. And I think there is a reason for that. So, but yeah, guys, I'd love to know what you guys think of the episode. Overall, I did like it. I didn't like it as much as like the last episode, but again, their world building, I really believe in the writer and director of this show. With what they're trying to do, it's incredibly difficult to make something that fans of the series will like and new people will also like, and I think they're doing a great job doing that. The next 2 or 3 episodes, I think there is going to be some more world building, and then after that, I think we're going to start going more balls to the wall. But yeah, guys, I'd love to know what you guys think. Did you enjoy this episode as much as I did? It was great, and I am doing those reviews of the original arcs. I have arc 1 already done. I should have arc 2 up either today or tomorrow of the original. So if you guys should be on the lookout for that, and maybe watch it if you guys want a refresher or just my take in watching those for the first time.